Hello to all my listeners and welcome to the CardioSeeds podcast that is all about lifestyle medicine and provider burnout. I'm your host, Dr. Svetlana Chamoun, a double board certified preventive cardiologist, lifestyle medicine physician, and health and wellness coach from the suburbs of Philadelphia. My amazing guests include absolutely cool physicians and other healthcare providers, and all of them have unbelievable stories to tell, from incredible personal tales of survival and resilience to becoming successful entrepreneurs, to starting blue zones from scratch, and much, much more. Tune into CardioSeeds podcast and listen to my discussion on a variety of lifestyle medicine topics. Starting a podcast was one of the best decisions I made in my life, and now we are available on every platform with a robust following from you, our listeners. Of course, none of this would be possible without Buzzsprout that let us build this podcast from scratch and launch it very, very efficiently. So, if you are dreaming about having your own podcast for the first time, Buzzsprout should be your choice. And with that, let's get started. Today's episode of the CardioSeeds podcast, we have a very special guest, a registered dietitian, Kathy Levin, who lives in a beautiful city of Springfield, Illinois, is the founder and the owner of Nutritiously Simple, a company that helps you navigate plant-based journey through lifestyle changes, nutrition coaching, meal plans, and culinary nutrition classes. At Nutritiously Simple, Kathy serves as a culinary dietitian, a certified diabetes educator, and a certified lifestyle medicine practitioner. One time, while presenting to a state diabetes conference, Kathy passed out unicorn erasers and put on a unicorn headband so her audience would remember her message on lifestyle medicine and diabetes. Kathy likes to say that she is a unicorn in a sense of being a unique creature in her field of registered dietitians, because there are very few people in this field that are at the same time registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, certified lifestyle coach, board certified lifestyle medicine practitioner, and a nutrition element specialist for the Ornish Heart Reversal program. Oh yeah, and she's also a co-chair of the Registered Dietitian and Nutritionist Member Interest Group at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So, as you can see, Kathy Levin is one of those specialists that many organizations would be proud to have on board. And she had a great career. And yet, several years ago, Kathy decided to become her own boss. Even though Kathy named her company Nutritiously Simple, her own business journey was anything but simple. Prior to starting Nutritiously Simple, Kathy worked as a dietitian and diabetes educator at one healthcare institution, the Memorial Medical Center in Springfield, Illinois, for her whole career. And then she said, why not work for myself and fulfill my vision and passion? And then she started Nutritiously Simple. And boy, what a decision it was. But not let me run ahead of myself, because Kathy will tell us all about it. Kathy Levin, welcome to the CardioSeeds podcast. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you for inviting me is what I meant to say. And I feel an honor to be able to talk to you today.
So wonderful. Thank you. Kathy, I want every episode of the CardioSeeds podcast to be a learning experience for our listeners. Each guest brings their unique story and perspective to the table. So I thought we would make this episode different from other podcasts featuring registered dietitians, because it's not just your amazing knowledge and experience that sets you apart from many other dietitians and nutritionists out there. It's also your entrepreneurial skills. Thus, I wanted to focus out today our discussion not so much around diets and food as on your personal experiences as a small business owner, and on Nutritiously Simple and its mission. Kathy, tell us about your journey in business of dietetics and nutrition. Why and when did you decide that it was time to start your own company?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I would say for the 10 years of that 25, I just always felt there had to be a better way. I'm not always a giant fan of the way that reimbursement works when it comes to nutrition, and I just knew there was a better way, and I just felt like there was a better way for me to help people too. So part of the story that I might not have shared with you is when I initially left my job at that healthcare institution after 25 years, I had a partner, another dietitian, and so we worked together and we had a different company, and then she moved away, and so I kind of went off and renamed it to Nutritiously Simple, because I think it's really important that when we focus on nutrition that we don't make it overly complicated. And I was also, by that point, I was focusing on lifestyle medicine and plant-based nutrition, and so it kind of sounded right to me at that point in time, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what is Nutritiously Simple? What its mission, essentially?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the mission of my business is to help as many people as possible transition easily over into a plant-based whole food approach to eating to prevent and reverse chronic disease, things like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, any of those things. I've worked with people even that have like MS and things like that as well, because I think the thing that we know is that research out there supports all of that, and so I want to make it as simple as possible. I think that there's so much nutrition noise out on social media and just in publications and things like that. It's very confusing to most people, and so I just want to make it as simple as possible.
Right. And surely you excelled in that. I looked through your website. I looked through all the materials that you post on website. They are so simple to follow. So, even for a person, I'm a cardiologist and I understand many of those things, but even if I was not, they're very easy to understand. You said that you started the company that you renamed into Nutritiously Simple with another person. So it probably gave you a little bit of a jump start, but was it difficult then, or it was simpler to go on your own after that? Were there any, obstacles, unforeseen, problems?
Sure. No, there was a lot. I would say running your own business is always a challenge. The first 2 years, we really didn't have our own niche or the thing that we focused on. Hysterically, that's why I almost didn't want to say the name of the other business. Our business was called Niche. It was nutrition consultants and health educators, but we didn't have a niche. So we didn't have that thing we focused on, and I think it made it way harder for people to even understand what we were doing. So that was a little bit of a challenge. But once I really pivoted and decided that lifestyle medicine and whole food plant-based nutrition is the thing I'm going to work on, it made it way, way easier. So for anybody, any kind of business, you really have to kind of like narrow down who the people are that you're talking to. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, my people tend to be people with chronic diseases. I deal a lot with people with diabetes, simply because I am a certified diabetes educator as well. A lot of my clients have diabetes as well. But yeah, finding those people and really narrowing it down so that you're talking to that one person so that they know, they're like, yeah, she knows me on the inside. And I think that was what made a big difference for me, for sure.
Right. It's interesting that you mentioned that everything was intertwined in a way with lifestyle medicine and a whole food, plant-based diet. When you, when you were growing your business. And also I remember when you were talking to me at some point, you mentioned that in your personal journey, you spent almost like 25 years being dietitian and not practicing, not even eating, right, personally, plant-based diet or not practicing plant-based medicine or dietary interventions. How did it come to your life, personal and professional? Tell me more about that. I'm always interested in how people meet lifestyle medicine, if you know what I mean.
Right. No, for sure. And I would say that it honestly and truly was not even on my radar. They don't teach us that in school. I think as a physician, you would probably agree it's an area that we need to be talking more to the people. That's why I work a lot with dietetic interns. And every single one of them, I'm teaching about lifestyle medicine and plant-based whole food because it really was not something that was talked about. I had heard about Dr. Dean Ornish when, all the time that I was a dietitian, but I really didn't know what he did or anything like that. And about the time that my business partner and I were kind of going two different directions, we actually had an offer to be the dietitians or the nutrition element specialists at a Dean Ornish lifestyle medicine program that was going to open here locally, which there's probably I would say between 20 and 30 throughout the country. And it was like a partnership with Prairie Cardiovascular, which is a large cardiovascular practice here in central Illinois, and a local fitness facility. And they were doing it together, but they needed to have the credentialed people to actually put the program on. And so they reached out to me and they sent us all, and it happened very, very quickly. December of 2017, they sent us out to California to be trained. They have you do this experiential retreat. And during the retreat, you essentially, it was not quite a week. I think we left like on a Sunday or Monday and came home on Friday. But you actually experienced everything that your participants would participate in, including a plant-based whole food diet. We knew that going into it. It was fun because the team of people, I didn't know any of those people prior to working in that program together, but we all went together. So it was a great team bonding experience. But I specifically remember the night before the program started. So we flew in like on Monday during the day program or Sunday, and it was starting the next morning. So we knew we were supposed to eat plant-based whole foods and that they wanted you to continue to do it for at least 60 days after the training. Really, they're just, once you do something for 60 days, obviously you can continue on with it. And so I just remember we all ate in this restaurant. It was like it was our last meal. And it was so funny because we all thought, oh, no, blah, blah, blah. Well, what I knew as the dietitian for this program is I could not ask people to do something that I was not willing to do myself. So I was essentially all in from that moment. And so I have not ever looked backwards. I also am the kind of person that if you say to me that this is better for your health, and I'm 58 years old, so I need to look at those things too, because as we age and you start to get into that, close to 60 category, you need to really be paying attention to
Thank you, by the way, for thank you for being thank you for being so honest with us.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference.
Right.
And so I was just all in, and I've been all in ever since. I have not had any like animal or meat of any kind, meat, fish, poultry, anything like that. I do follow Ornish's guidelines, which allows a little bit of non-fat dairy, although I don't use very much at all. And then also he allows some egg whites, which I was never a big egg person, so that was no big deal for me either. But
so,
yeah, no, I've been all in since then.
So Ornish came to you, not you came to Ornish, and then it became organic to you, pun not intended, eating organic.
Right. Absolutely. No, it just
right.
it was the way that it was. And then sadly, like, because of the, I almost said pandemic. Because of that, on March 12th of 2020, our program locally closed and it never did reopen. But I am happy to say, and I have not said this out loud to anybody outside of my family, Ornish is going virtual, and they have asked me to be part of that program too. So I will be back teaching in that program virtually very, very soon. So
it sounds like you became a perfect match because your values kind of aligned perfectly, right?
Yes.
Let's talk more about business and your personal experiences. How did you personally continue growing your business, and who are your current clients, and how did you grow your client base?
Yeah, so anytime you have any kind of business, right, that's always a challenge.
Right.
Part of what I did, because primarily before 2020, my primary income came from the Ornish program, and my business, because I was so dedicated to that, I probably let my own business not be as robust as it could have been. But then things changed, right? And I think for a lot of people in 2020, it changed the landscape of a lot of things. Now, luckily for me, I was always virtual. So I didn't ever have, in the very beginning when I started with my business partner, we had an office, but we only did that for a year. We always, most of the time, did things virtually. And so that's what I continued to do. I actually had a contract with the local city here too, where I worked with their employees, which I thought was amazing that they invested money into that. But I worked with their employees, and we did I call my little 3-month coaching program Recipe for Success. And so they would come through that program, but they were great because they had a health coach that would screen them. And so that was a huge base of people that I had, I would say more so in 2020 and 2021. And then I just do a lot of outreach, whether it be through social media or I have an email list that I connect with mostly on a weekly basis and things like that. But my goal really is just to help anybody who's interested in it all in that transition over to plant-based whole food. It really is interesting to see where people come from. I get a lot of recommendations from other healthcare providers, but also from my other clients.
Right.
Like so-and-so worked with me and they said, hey, she's plant-based. Or other dietitians that know what my focus is, that I've known for years, will refer people to me as well.
So your prior referrals and you are the current patients, and it becomes like a snowball effect, essentially. And
correct. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Right.
The more that you put yourself out there. And that's the thing that I try to always remember. Like sometimes I have like some, and for a lot of people, when you have a business, you might have a little mental block for selling. And so I try to turn that word from selling to serving, because for me, that's what I'm all about, is serving people and helping people. And as I always say, I'm not money motivated. That's not usually what motivates me to get up in the morning, but actually the helping of other people in the world and doing good at the end of the day, for sure.
Do you feel, I actually did not intend to ask this question at the beginning, but now it's crossing my mind as we're going through this interview with you, Kathy. Do you feel like we solo practitioners, you in dietetics and I in cardiology, for instance, who try to venture solo, more or less, right? do you think we will be facing fierce competition from our counterparts who are incorporated with partners in multi-specialty groups in this, the not fee-for-service, I'm sorry, I was trying to say value-based care models for reimbursement?
Well, I mean, what I would say is, both of us have worked in healthcare a long time, right? And so the traditional healthcare wheel is very, very slow to turn. We all know that. If you want, that's why I love having my own business. If I decide that I want to do something, I could do it today. I don't have to ask anybody. I can just go and do this thing. I can also, if there's, for example, my daughter works for the Lupus Foundation, and they wanted somebody to talk about lifestyle medicine. Mm-hmm. So I did, and then now they've asked me again. So any way that I can get that message out there is great, is where I think sometimes in traditional healthcare, it's a lot more managed, if you will. Like there's people to tell you, no, you can't do that or whatever. Right. I mean, I'm happy, and I don't care if there is more people in the sandbox. I think we can all play nicely in the sandbox, if you will. I think that I don't believe in the time that I continue to practice. Probably it will be the norm. I sure hope before I'm not on this earth anymore that lifestyle medicine is the norm, and that should be like our first step and not the last step sort of thing, which is where I think it is right now in traditional healthcare. I think there's a very big push. And if I just look at diabetes alone, right? Mm-hmm. I think that some of the pharmacy companies have a huge control over how we manage diabetes, where it always seems like medicine is the first step versus let's try these other things that we know will actually make a difference at the end of the day, before we start putting everybody on medication. So, I mean, it's just been a very interesting 30 plus years watching how healthcare has changed, but yet it hasn't changed that much. Mm-hmm. I will say, and I don't know how it is where you are locally, and I just live in the middle of Illinois. So I always say everything gets here last, but locally there is a memorial that I used to work for is starting to do some things that are on the edge, like they're having a cooking kitchen and things like that. So I do see some positive changes coming that way too. And again, I'm not worried about what other people do. I just have to keep my head focused on who I want to serve. Even if it's not the local market, it could be the bigger national market or wherever people want to come from.
Oh yeah, no, I totally.
That answered your question.
Absolutely, you answered on so many levels. I think it's when we think about the local level, you said Springfield is in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's a relatively big city. I live in the tri-state area. I live in Philadelphia area, and we are surrounded by, 5 medical schools, huge number of practicing cardiologists, large medical groups. And essentially, there is a very, very deserving community, diverse community of patients here who could hugely benefit from all kind of slew of lifestyle interventions, of all kinds. And I feel like, working in silos sometimes doesn't really help, and working as a solo practitioner, isolated, from everybody else, doesn't really reach that much of a number of people there. But at the same time, it would be helpful if medical health system executive also were a little bit more on board. I see already, obviously, this machine started moving, obviously. So there is a movement out there, and some of the medical care systems and some of the places in the country are moving much faster, as you know, and the American College of Lifestyle Medicine is presenting those systems and hospitals to us, right? And the list. but certain areas are behind, and I'm a little bit surprised that our area here in the tri-state area, Philadelphia and New Jersey and Delaware, is a little bit behind the areas of California, let's say in Intermountain and the Colorado and those areas. We could be better with our programs and advances in this. And we try to educate, and you mentioned creating educational programs for students. How do you see implementing them and educating the new generation of registered dietitian students to join the movement?
Right. And with that, like I said, I have two, what I call, I think I, of myself, began my last quarter of working. And so I came up with, I kind of had to do it in my own head, to be like, I love what I do. And I know a lot of people that are my age are probably like looking forward to retirement. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing until I just decide enough, right? And so right now, my big two goals are to help as many people as I can transition over to plant-based whole food, right? So that's like the client end of it. And then my other side of it is to help more dietitians even know about lifestyle medicine, because like I said, nobody ever really talked about that for the first 25 years of being a dietitian. It was not something that was really discussed. And so one thing that we're going to be doing through American College of Lifestyle Medicine is the other people that are part of that member interest group of dietitians. I just even presented the idea of to them. There's a conference I just recently went to called Today's Dietitian. And I said, what if next year we're up on the stage and we're explaining to them what's what sort of thing as a first step? My other thought process, or something that I would really like to work on too, is a course to help other dietitians wrap their head around what lifestyle medicine is and how we can make a difference at kind of pushing that forward, because the forefront of lifestyle medicine is that plant-based whole food part. So that if other dietitians were like me when I went to go get trained for Ornish, at least they'll have been exposed to it beforehand, as where, instead of just kind of following what traditional medicine tells us that we should do. Right.
I guess you started answering my next question and my next question after that, which are related to networking and helping other women in business and developing entrepreneurial skills and mentorship. So, you help other women to jumpstart their lifestyle medicine business and small businesses in general. And I am very grateful to you for your ideas and motivating me with my small business and my jumpstart. What would be your recommendations to other colleagues in the field who want to start their first businesses, women who, like you, have perhaps a superb knowledge of their craft and passion, but who are not perhaps super young, maybe like me, for instance, and who do not have special business education, right? Do they need a mentor? Did you have a mentor? Do they need to get special education in business, or this entrepreneurial spirit will develop over years if they just keep kind of grinding and learning from other people's experiences? How do you see this happen?
Sure. That is such a great question. So first of all, I would like to say that I don't feel like I'm an expert in this at all. I mean, I've just done it and kind of gone off the cliff and do what I do kind of thing. But I would say that when I first started, it is so interesting to me, because when I first started with my business partner, there was one dietitian that had this course, and we would sit down, and it was not very pretty or anything like that. It's so funny to me because things look so much different. Here we are, I think it's been 6 years later from when we were starting our business, that there was only one course. I would tell you nowadays, as for dietitians, there are so many dietitians out there that are really leading the way in terms of getting other dietitians to learn more about business and things like that. That's how I learned everything, was just taking different courses. I wouldn't recommend, like, I'm a serial learner, so I love learning anything. So that's how I learned most of the things that I do. And also you learn from just doing. And that when you realize that, like, there is no perfect way.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to do what feels right for you at the end of the day and the kind of business that you want to have. I would say it's interesting to me, and you've noticed this as well, that people that are young, there are people that graduate from their internship and as dietitians and want to go and open a business. And what I would say, I mean, I think that's great, wonderful, but I think you need to have a knowledge base of what you want to have your business. Not just, it's great to want to do a business, but you need to have a little bit, dip your toe in the water.
Yeah.
And, get experience, life experience before you jump into that. Because I think anybody can start a business, but to be good at it, you really need to know what you're talking about and how to support people. I would tell anybody, and it's probably true no matter what your profession is, but like for me, I always say all dietitians are not created equally. Like some of us are really good and have really great counseling skills, and other people are more clinical and maybe they don't really enjoy talking to people. So maybe that's not the job you want to have your own business where you're trying to work with people all the time. So you got to find the niche. Again, it always comes down to like finding what fills your heart and your soul and what makes you happy in the best way at the end of the day. I think that there's a lot of different kind of generic business things that we as healthcare providers can even pull things off of and learn more, because a lot of what I've learned has not been healthcare people. It's not their courses, the other people's courses, because you have to learn about all the stuff, right?
Yes.
And it's a challenge sometimes knowing even what you need to know, sort of thing. So getting a good basic, I'm not saying you have to go get an MBA or something, but having a good basic business foundational kind of course that you can either do online or in person, however these people are offering it. But there's a lot of thought leaders out there that are the people that you would want to go.
But don't you think even having a higher education in dietetics sometimes does not give you everything to be, proficient in business when you deal with clients tete-a-tete? It's like you gave me this great idea, get your feet in the water. It's almost like analogy that came to my head. It's like a writer, who gets more seasoned when they go through life. Read almost all those classics of world literature. Their early writing and their late writing, how much better. That the same Ernest Hemingway, how much better he became with years, right? Just because he knew life, he experienced life.
No, it's true.
Right? So this is amazing that you said just sitting in the office, just learning through books does not give you the same as working with patients and learning from life experiences. So get yourself for at least like 2-3 years work with patients and then strike on your own if you want, right? That's what you're feeling.
Right, because you have to know their struggle.
Right.
And I always laugh because in a lot of business courses, they tell you to survey people. Well, I don't feel like I need to survey people because I've done this for over 30 years. And I know the things that they tell me on a daily basis. That's like surveying people. I think you need to survey people if you've not worked with people for very long or things like that. But I know, like, you have to know what their pain points are, what's their struggle. So you're speaking to that person.
Sure.
Because if you don't talk in the way that they talk and the problems that they have, then nobody understands what you're there for. I guess would be the way I would look at it
Right.
too. So yeah, I always think life experience is the best thing ever. And I always think too, when it comes to business, like I just jump in, and if it doesn't work this way, doing it this way, I can always tweak it and make it different and continue to kind of massage it a little bit to make it come out the way that works best for my clients.
You're like one of those GPSs, rerouting.
Exactly.
Now, it comes to the next question, and this one is short because you just probably answered that. How do you overcome those obstacles that you encounter now, and what keeps you motivated? And that family also. Tell me a little bit more about your probably amazingly supportive family.
Yeah. Well, that helps a lot. So I had a husband who, when I said to him that I wanted to start my own business, has done nothing but support me the whole entire way. My kids support me. My mom, I always say my mom is my biggest fan. Any program or anything I've ever done, she always buys it. God love her. She's almost 89 years old. Last year during the pandemic, she participated in one of my programs, and she actually only eats meat once a day now. And I'm like, maybe she'll just make it to 100 this way. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, some of those obstacles, and I think sometimes a lot of them are in our heads. We always tell ourselves stories about how we're not doing as well as we think. But then I always reference back to my husband, who always is telling me what a great job I'm doing, even when I feel like I'm not doing such a great job and I'm frustrated with where I'm at. Because again, as a solopreneur, you have those conversations in your own head. You're not oftentimes putting those out there for the world, for people to be like, hey, no, you're doing okay. I did have, and I just love this woman. So it was somebody that I know through a course I was in. But she follows me on Instagram, and the other day I made some post about something, and I don't even remember specifically what it was, but she was so kind in that she sent me a message, and she said, when you have those times when you think nobody's listening to you, I'm listening to you. And she told me what changes that she had made because of stuff that I had put out there. So that's the other thing, is even if you realize that you're just talking to one person. I always said that the thing that truly keeps me motivated every single day is, even if I know, and I said this long before I had my own business, if I know that I've helped one person in a day, it makes me, I'm okay. I could go on to the next day, sort of thing too.
Right.
So it really, I'm much more motivated by helping people than anything else.
Right. Oh, that is so inspirational. That's incredible. You just said. I'm learning so much from you, Kathy Levin. Well, the next question would be, you are a co-chair of the Registered Dietitian Membership Interest Group at American College of Lifestyle Medicine. What is your mission at this role?
Sure. Well, it's kind of what the mission was that I just told you. In that role, my goal is to help more dietitians understand what lifestyle medicine is, number one, and show them how they can incorporate that in their practice, whether they work for like a healthcare organization or they have their own business or whatever, and also support those people that are in a practice. Part of what we do in that particular group, we want to be the thought leaders of the nutrition information that comes out of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So thankfully, they often send to us the different like handouts and things like that that are nutrition related, so that we can review all that or put it in front of the rest of the dietitians and nutritionists in that group as well. But really supporting, I felt like it was my time to serve other dietitians. I also recently agreed to be part of something with the American, what am I trying to say? I'm going to say it wrong. For the Dietetic Association. Yes. I also agreed to be part of that group too, for that very reason. I feel like I've spent, 30 plus years being a dietitian. It's my time now to give back to those other dietitians. dietitians.
Wonderful, wonderful. And, as a co-chair of the Cardiology Membership Interest Group, I invite you with open hands to do any projects you can think of and, attend our meetings as well. So we can do all kinds of things together if you want, if you have time. So we're there for 3 years, my friend. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I think is amazing about being
I know.
co-chair. To be honest with you, I didn't even really know what I was signing up to run, but I just knew I needed to do something. And then I had no idea it was 3 years, but I'm glad it was 3 years because I always think, how do you leave your mark on the world? And so when I worked for that healthcare institution, my goal was to get diabetes on the forefront of the minds of the administration of that hospital, and that we should be offering things for people living with diabetes. And by the time I left, that was done, and it has continued to expand. So I always say that was my legacy there. My legacy now needs to be getting this whole lifestyle medicine thing out to other dietitians so that it becomes the norm instead of the exception. Right.
Well, now let's quickly jump to your food. Once you told me that you love to play with your food in the kitchen by remixing your family favorite recipes with a twist of healthy and a pinch of plant-based. What do you mean by that? Do you mean that you can take essentially any recipe and make it heart-healthy, low-calorie, gluten-free, vegan-friendly if you want, what have you? Did I get it right?
Yes, exactly. So I believe that we can all, switch over gradually to plant-based whole foods by just making some simple little tweaks. So I always use my example as my great Aunt Bessie. She used to make pumpkin bread every single year, and she would wrap them so intricately in foil, which I've never mastered that task. But after Bessie became older and then after she passed away, I kind of took on that role of making the pumpkin bread. So that's my example in here. And her recipe had so much oil and whole eggs and all this stuff. So what I did was I just gradually started remixing it to be a little bit different. And now everybody's used to my pumpkin bread. I don't know what it would taste like if we ate Bessie's pumpkin bread now, but that you can start your journey even by as simply as like trying veggie crumbles in your chili or taco soup instead of using ground beef, or having a plant-based burger instead of like a meat-based burger, and just trying little tiny things. Even if what you're starting off with is just meatless Monday, right? Try a meatless Monday. Try one meal where you're not eating meat and see how that works for you. And even if you just start off and you do that once a week, because I'm really, really, really big on small steps, that you have to do it where you're focusing on one thing and not all the things. I think people get very overwhelmed by that. But in the kitchen, I just love playing around with recipes and replacing things, right? So a big thing, right, in plant-based whole foods is not using a lot of added fat or oil. And so I'm always looking at that, and how to replace sugar is probably the big one. And then obviously the protein part, having it be something that's plant-based as well. So like one of my little easy quick tips is I always use aquafaba, so the liquid from chickpeas. I use that in so many different things in place of oil. It is so easy. It's an easy fix where you still get the flavors of everything else. You just simply replace the oil. So that's just one little tweak I might make.
Wow. And for your family, you and your cooking demos, you cook a lot, right? I would imagine you cook a storm probably. So what is your favorite recipe, or what's your favorite thing to make, is if there is one or two?
Sure. So sometimes it's the simplest things, and I know that probably sounds silly to everyone, but like I could on any given morning, right, do any kind of a toast that has different stuff on it. So like I might do something like an avocado toast, but I'll just load it up with all sorts of like veggies, like tomatoes and red onion, and I like to use microgreens because they're so high in nutrients, and maybe even a little bit of, I always like a good shake of that everything but the bagel seasoning. I think that's delicious. But I'll also do it with fruit, right? And so just doing simple things or different kinds of smoothies. Or one of my favorite recipes that everybody in my family loves is this easy taco soup recipe. It's super easy where you're literally opening up cans. I always recommend that you rinse off your beans and stuff like that from the can, but you're dumping stuff in. I like to use my Instant Pot, but you could cook it on the stove. Super easy, makes a ton. You put it in mason jars, put it in the fridge. But yes, I will play with anything. Like, when was that? 2 weeks ago, I made jackfruits. I made like chicken drumsticks, if you will, with jackfruit and wrapping them in rice paper so it looked like the skin of the chicken, and using a cinnamon stick as the bone that normally would be in a drumstick of a chicken leg. So there's all sorts of like little tweaks to everything that you could do. But yeah, anything that for me that's just makes it easier to eat plant-based and makes me have that familiarity of like what I used to eat before I stopped eating meat sometimes. I think that that's good too. I would say that not everyone in my house is plant-based, but they know that if I cook, that's what it is. So they'll eat whatever I make because they're very good about that. But yeah, you just I don't make meat, so if they want that, they'll get it out. They're not going to get it at home, kind of thing too.
Wow, what an amazing thing. Kathy Levin, you are amazing and inspiring. You are a really powerhouse of experience and expertise in the world of dietetics. My dear listeners, visit Kathy Levin's website, Nutritiously Simple, and learn for yourself. Once again, Kathy Levin is the founder and the owner of Nutritiously Simple, a company that helps you navigate plant-based journey through lifestyle changes, nutrition coaching, meal plans, and culinary nutrition classes. Kathy is a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, lifestyle coach, and a board-certified lifestyle medicine practitioner. Kathy Levin is also a co-chair of the Registered Dietitian and Nutritionist Member Interest Group at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
This is all for us today, and thank you for listening for the weekly CardioSeeds podcast. It's all about lifestyle medicine, and that's also your host, Dr. Svetlana Chamoun, a double board-certified lifestyle cardiologist and a behavioral coach from the suburbs of Philadelphia. Goodbye.